we're not just relying on one piece of evidence. If we have 2 or 3 things happening at the same time, then we're more apt to really say this is paranormal opposed to just something that is naturally occurring.
When you've basically canceled out everything it could be, then it's paranormal. And by saying it's paranormal, it's not saying that it's a ghost or a spirit. All it's saying that is it's something beyond the normal.
In the world of paranormal investigation, the evidence gathered by researchers is not strictly limited to visual. There is another kind of evidence which, if proven out, may constitute the possibility of actual verbal communication with the other side. The evidence is known as EVP.
EVP's electronic voice phenomena is something that has come into the forefront today like I can't believe. And over the years, our theory was that it was attracted, the energy was attracted to the magnetic tapes, the cassette tapes, the videotapes. But then we came along with the digital age. And I was curious to see what was going to happen. Today, now with the digital world, some of the EVPs that are coming forth are phenomenal. Full sentences. We're working on several investigations right now, and I had 3 people that have never gotten EVPs. And they're walking away with EVPs right now that are blowing me out of the water.
I have asked an entity to say 2 words, and that entity, whoever, whatever it is, came back and gave me the 2 words. I've asked direct questions, I've gotten direct answers, I've asked linguistic questions, and I've gotten intelligible answers to the linguistic questions. So there are intelligent entities. They are not always on cue. They're erratic. That is the nature of the entity. Are you afraid of us? You want us to go away?
Usually when, like for me for instance, when I go on an investigation, I might take like 20 pictures, but I'll have 4 hours of audio, because I just feel audio is more substantial to what we're doing than pictures, because pictures, can be very easily, not faked, but, misunderstood. EVP is a little bit harder to, explain.
The capturing of electronic voice phenomena has become a staple of modern paranormal investigating. In fact, it's hard to find a group today that doesn't incorporate this type of research into their investigation. Many researchers have their own methods and techniques for capturing EVPs, from equipment preferences and specific questions asked to how to handle the recorder.
A lot of people, the first time they'll do it, if they're a little nervous about things, they'll just set it in a room and leave it and walk away and maybe go eat dinner or leave the house, go shopping or something. Then they'll come back and just listen. If you listen really close, you can hear it. Or you can hold it in your hand and ask specific questions, maybe even related to the building or the place you're at.
When I'm trying to get EVPs, I use at least 2 recorders at one time. That way, I know if there's a sound on one and there's not on another, there's a good chance that's an EVP. If you pick up a sound on both recorders, it's generally not going to be an EVP. It's some kind of background noise.
I always tell people in our investigations, do everything natural. Don't go in provoking. Don't disturb things. Put your tape recorders down. Have your normal conversations. Talk about what might be happening in that environment, in that haunting. And you'll walk away with some of the most phenomenal EVPs.
Can you give us a sign of your presence here? Do you like that we've come here tonight?
Although techniques for capturing EVPs can vary from investigator to investigator, nearly everyone agrees that there is one specific environmental condition which must be met before any recording can begin: peace and quiet.
When I go out and try and capture EVPs, I try and make sure I get the quietest atmosphere as possible. Otherwise, I won't do it. If there's noise, I just don't record.
You can have someone in another room down the hallway whispering, and that will completely destroy any audio.
Honestly, the best way to do EVPs is nobody in the building, especially nobody on the floor above you, on the same floor as you. That'd be the preferred way to do EVP. Nobody in the room.
Necessary. I'll hold her.
Are these voices from beyond the grave? Are they communication with an alternate dimension? Or are they simply radio interference caused by overcrowded airwaves? Like nearly all EVPs, these voices were not heard by investigators at the time of recording, only on playback. If they are not radio waves or electronic interference, how is it possible they're not heard?
Well, because the theory is that the voices are being printed directly on the recording media. It's not something it's an electrical impulse rather than an audio something. It's not a noise that's out there in the air. Somehow or other, the voice is being imprinted directly on the media.
The recording equipment used to capture this phenomenon is fairly common, but does vary in technology, and the specific choice of what to use is often a matter of personal preference.
We use a variety of different things. Some people still use magnetic media, regular cassette recorders, but not generally. Pretty much everybody now uses digital recorders of one type or another. I have a wide variety, and everybody seems to like different ones.
If we are to consider these voices to be direct communication with the dead, how is it possible for such an anomaly to occur? What connection is there between our world and an afterlife which lets these beings communicate this way?
I think it's the way they're formed is some kind of thought process. My view of things is that thoughts are very real things, and they form very real things. And so somehow or other the voices are being produced by some sort of thought processes. That's why we're still researching it, because we don't really know.
Unfortunately, the voices captured by researchers are very often unclear, and exactly what's being said is usually the object of intense speculation. Therefore, investigation teams find it necessary to classify the EVPs collected and grade them according to clarity.
Class A EVP is one that's generally heard clearly by pretty much everybody over loudspeakers, over computer loudspeakers or something like that. And there's usually not much dissension as to what's being said. Class B EVP is, there's words being said, but it's not always clear. That's where the interpretation comes into effect a little bit. Some people think it says one thing, somebody says it looks like something else. In Class C, there's some kind of mumbling or whispering going on, but it's not audible, really. It's sort of more like background noise than anything.
When you hear something, on audio, especially if it's like Class B or Class C, it could be almost anything, and it's just very hard to understand. I mean, it's just a sound that's like mushed together, and hearing that sound mushed together, people hear different things.
I think EVPs, for the most part, there are possibilities that you could be picking up on radio transmissions, cell phone transmissions, and so forth, background noise. I've heard a lot of EVPs that, it could be saying one thing, but if you listen to it, it could be saying another thing too. They're not that clear. It's when they become very, very clear and concise that you need to take a look at them and consider them paranormal. I fully believe that they exist and that they're real in many cases.
Many skeptics attribute the differences in EVP interpretation to a phenomenon known as pareidolia, a tendency of the human mind to make sense of random noises. However, others believe the EVP responses are far too specific to be random noise or caused by pareidolia.
These aren't radio signals, and this is not noise that my mind is creating into being voices. It definitely is not that. That's one thing, because they're too vowel and consonant specific, and noise is not vowel and consonant specific.
To